Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Department of Products Weekly Briefing. Coming up this week, we take a look at the latest models from Google Gemini, plus why anonymity might be one of Reddit's greatest strengths. As well as this, we've got some practical tools you can use at work, including a browser which promises to ditch the cookie banners once and for all, an API to SDK startup, and a new study which shows that Amazon's return to office mandates may not have started the broader trend that we all expected. As always, if you enjoy the briefing, hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you've got any comments about anything we've covered in today's briefing, just let me know in the comments below. So first up, this week, Google released its latest model, Gemini 2.0, which is designed for what the company calls the Agentic era of AI. And so next year is gearing up to be the year of Agentic AI, which is where AI assistants evolve from being purely just assistants who can ask questions to agents who can actually perform tasks on our behalf. Gemini 2.0 represents a significant evolution from its predecessor, according to Google, because it introduces advanced capabilities that allow it to act more autonomously and assist users in more complex and multi-step tasks. Now, this comes with a whole bunch of different new capabilities, but one in particular that is worth mentioning is something that Google calls deep research, which is a kind of a play on the DeepMind branding. And it's designed to be an advanced AI research assistant for users. So over the course of a few minutes, the Deep Research Assistant will continuously refine its analysis, browsing the web the way that everyone else does. So Google has designed this to work in the same way as a human might. So it conducts its research by searching, finding interesting pieces of information, and then starting a new search based on what it's learned. And it repeats this process multiple times, and then once it's complete, it generates a comprehensive report of the findings, which can be exported into a Google Doc. As you can imagine, in a business context, this could be really helpful for scenarios where you need to generate your own product research or market research. And so it'll be interesting to see how this performs in the real world. And we're looking forward to getting our hands on this. And speaking of Gemini, if you're interested in learning more about how to use Gemini in spreadsheets, this week, if you head over to the Substack, the latest knowledge series is specifically on how to use AI in spreadsheets for things like summarizing trends, extracting information from visuals, creating meeting agendas, and lots of other use cases. So if you're interested in using AI in spreadsheets, head over to the Substack for more on that. Also this week, OpenAI is continuing what it calls its 12 days of OpenAI. And this continued with the launch of its new generative AI video product, Sora, which is now available in most markets, including the US, but not in the EU or the UK. Against this backdrop of 12 days of OpenAI, it's worth noting that the company is reportedly losing $7 billion a year right now, which is one of the reasons why it has also announced a new $200 a month subscription product for access to its latest models. Now, $7 billion a year is clearly a lot of money, but it's not necessarily uncommon in tech startups, particularly in the early years. So here's a snapshot of some of the losses incurred by other tech companies for context. So Meta has spent billions on its reality labs. Uber was notoriously bad at burning through lots of cash, and we all know about the fate of WeWork. Other new features worth knowing about this week include a new release from Reddit, which is called Reddit Answers. And this is a new AI-powered search tool which allows users to ask questions and then get a curated summary of relevant conversations and details from Reddit posts. So this will be something to keep an eye on. And in a piece in the Wall Street Journal this week, it's argued that one of Reddit's biggest strategic advantages over its competitors is the quality of its content, and that this, in part, is driven by the anonymous identities of the users. So if you think about it, when users are anonymous, they tend to be more honest, and this authenticity tends to make the AI training more accurate, according to a professor at Toronto Met University. Reddit also has the benefit of subreddits being baked into the user experience. And subreddits are an excellent way of labeling data to train for AI models. So Reddit is fast emerging as an AI superpower and has recently signed a $200 million licensing deal with Google to allow them to use Reddit to train its models. Other new AI updates this week worth knowing about include the new image generator from Grok, which was briefly called Aura before Elon Musk confirmed that it would be bundled into Grok. It's pretty impressive at generating photorealistic images, and you can see in these examples how good it actually is. And this week, xAI, the parent company of Grok, raised a fresh $6 billion funding round, and it is reported to be working on a standalone app for Grok. So decoupling the Grok brand at this stage from X may prove to be a smart strategic move, given how divisive the X brand is at this stage. Yelp has also released new AI features this week, one of which is a new AI aggregation feature called Review Insights, which allows users to use LLMs to filter reviews based on things like the quality of food, service, ambience, wait time, and drinks. Even when a review doesn't explicitly mention one of these topics, the LLM understands the context in the review to identify and surface the relevant topic and sentiment. So this type of AI-powered filtering could be really useful for other use cases too. So that's definitely something for product teams to consider when they're thinking about adding search and filters to their products. In other news, Databricks has launched a synthetic database API. And this API is designed to help product teams evaluate the performance of AI agents without having to rely on real-world data, which can take a long time to produce. The early results from this are promising, with an overall 2x improvement in the agent's capability to find relevant documents when trained on synthetic datasets. And speaking of new APIs, this week, a new startup called Stainless has confirmed that it has raised $25 million for its product, which allows product and engineering teams to transform APIs into functional SDKs. So Stainless is founded by an ex-Stripe engineer, and it's already generating $1 million in annual recurring revenues. Other tools you can use this week include something called StackFix, which allows you to compare SaaS products in seconds. So it's kind of like a comparison search engine for SaaS products, which is pretty interesting. And it's ideal for scenarios where you're looking for new tools or vendors at work, but you're not quite sure where to start. So it allows you to input the certain criteria and features that you're looking for and conduct a search. And off the back of that, you get a list of results, which you can then use to compare different vendors by. As well as this, other tools you can use this week include a new feature from a browser called Aloha. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but here's the important thing. They've released something called Cookie Consent Manager. So if you're somebody like me who despises having to click on cookie banner preferences all the time, then this is the browser for you, because this feature allows you to manage your consent preference at the browser level rather than at the website level. And it doesn't just block cookie banners, but it instead uses a proprietary feature which allows you to set preferences which automatically then get sent to the website that you're visiting. At the moment, this is only available on iOS, but I am hoping that this will eventually see the light of day on desktop as well. Now let's take a look at some data and trends from this week. First up, the predicted effect of Amazon's return to office mandates doesn't seem to have manifested in the real world as yet. So earlier this year, Amazon required all members of staff to return to the office, but the overall share of US companies that require people to be in the office full time actually declined slightly in the last quarter. At the moment, 68% of companies offer at least some flexibility in where people work. So it'll be interesting to see, will this trend continue into 2025? And a company that is owned by Amazon, which is Twitch, is still losing viewers according to new analysis, and live viewership is down to 1.7 billion from a pandemic high of 2.4 billion. Meanwhile, after a change in leadership, Stability AI's CEO says the startup is now focused on API licensing monetization, and that the company has tripled its revenues as a result. So we're still in the very early days of companies figuring out monetization strategy, and in this case, Stability AI has focused on licensing its APIs as a way of monetizing its business. And as Agentic AI starts to grow next year, we could see new opportunities open up for monetization. In a new piece by the venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, the authors argue that Agentic AI could have a profound impact on what it calls the vertical SaaS market. So the example that it uses is that imagine a market where a vertical SaaS company could charge 10,000 customers $1,000 per month, which produces a total market size of 120 million. Now imagine the vertical SaaS company could win not just the customers themselves, but also the sales, the marketing, the customer service, and the financial back office budgets of those 10,000 customers and charge $10,000 a month. So the market size is now $1.2 billion. The argument here is that small niches may become more lucrative as AI finds more opportunities to apply itself for SaaS vendors. So if you're interested in learning more about the potential monetization opportunities for AI, this article might be worth checking out as well. And finally, we'll leave you with some research, which is interesting, but also slightly terrifying, which is that AI agents can now predict your behavior, apparently, with 85% accuracy. So this was a study conducted by DeepMind and Stanford University, which used 2-hour interviews with 1,000 humans to understand their life experiences, beliefs, and values. And the models were 85% accurate in predicting what the answers to specific questions would be for these participants. And this 85% accuracy rate was much higher than the 70% associated with standard demographic modeling. So the impact of this, as is the case with much of AI, could be profound for use cases for product teams like conducting market research or user research, where you can essentially predict what the answers will be for questions posed to specific demographics. And I'll leave it there for this week. Thanks very much for listening and watching, and we'll be back next week. Enjoy the rest of your week.